day, good afternoon. Welcome to the news here on 3FM 92.7. We come to you live from our studios here at Adisa Wikanda in Accra and our studios and affiliates across the country. Also live on Facebook and all our social media platforms. My name is Judith Brown. Coming up this afternoon, Social Security and National Insurance Trust justifies a decision to sell 60% stake in the hotels, while SNIT discounts claims that the son of Freddie Blay bid over $150 million for the hotels. We'll tell you more. Also, the Ghana Bar Association Attorney General backs calls for 5 more judges to be appointed to the Supreme Court as it emerges the court is struggling to deal with minority or majority of its cases. Plus, the latest poll reveals the choice of Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh as running mate for the National New Patriotic Party's flag bearer has not improved the numbers in the Ashanti region. We'll be live in the region as nominations have been opened for the vacant Minsha parliamentary candidate 2024 ticket. Details of these and more coming up shortly. Please do stay with us. We start with education now, and over 569,000 junior high school students are expected to take part in this year's Basic Education Certificate Examination, BEC, which starts today, July 8. Now, this year's examination is a decrease of 5.29% as compared to the previous year figure of 600,000. Now, over 19,000 schools are participating and students are being examined on the newly introduced Common Core curriculum, while private candidates would be examined on the old syllabus. The exam, which starts with English language, will end on Monday, July 15, with Arabic. Meanwhile, all BC candidates writing the exams this morning at the St. Kizito Examination Center in the North Tong District are not allowed to put on shoes or belts. This, we are told, is a directive from the GES in efforts to minimize exam malpractices or cheating in the exam hall. Even female Muslims in views are being asked to take them off. My colleague Joseph Armstrong Goldalobe is in the area and joins us live on phone with more on this. Good afternoon, Armstrong. Now, tell us more about this directive.
Judith, that's when I was trying to get confirmation from some people from even WAEC here. Well, they couldn't confirm to me, but the examination officers here, they confirmed that they're not going to allow anybody to put on a belt or wear a shoe. You're allowed to wear sandals. And I want to ask them, they told me it's a way of trying to check them not putting piece of papers in their shoes. That has been the case in the past. So I thought it was just that center alone. I thought that was restricted to the St. Kizito Center alone. So I moved to the Batos Senior High School, which is another center. Over there, the situation was the same. I went to the was there. The situation there is the same. All these centers have visited, none of the candidates were allowed to wear a shoe or a belt. And the students, of course, are not happy about the directive or the situation because they are saying they are not used to dressing this way, because wearing a knicker or a short without a belt, they say they feel uncomfortable. And the directive that they have to comply with. And you research thoroughly before you are allowed to enter into the exam center.
Well, Armstrong, you said also that the female students or Muslims in veils have been asked to take them off. How are they taking it, judging from really their customs and their culture?
So there was one lady, for instance, at the where I met, and she was asked to remove the veil, and then it was still the footage I sent in. She said, well, she's not feeling well, she's still feeling cold, so she cannot take off the veil. So it was. So they have to move her to some other officials to ask and really be sure that if she's not well, then maybe she can be pardoned. But aside that, she was directed to take off the veil because nothing of that sort was going to be allowed in the exam hall.
Right now, Armstrong, lastly, you reported yesterday from some of the camps there, and the fact that most of the students were emotionally traumatized ahead of the BEC. What is the situation like from the camps today?
So the situation has that when this morning I found out, I was told they brought a vehicle to convey all of them, and they were camped in one particular school close by to the near to the center where we're writing exams, so they can be able to do their revision. So the report will be led to some who after we did a story about the vehicle to convey all of them. The DC, I met the DC this morning. He assured me he's going to provide them with solar lamps in the various camps so they can lay in the tent instead of sitting outside for the mosquitoes to bite them. And then also, I did have mathematical set and other things. The Member of Parliament brought in some of those items and distributed to all these students across. But there's one sad news here in this district that the DC told me. I'm trying to investigate, but since it came from the DC, he told me a vehicle knocked down 2 candidates, killing one person instantly and one in critical condition currently at the VRA hospital somewhere around Kiburu. It's one of the communities within the South Song district, and he says that he is not going to see how bad the situation is. But one person, he confirmed, died instantly when they were trying to cross the road to the other side. So they are unable to write exams today, including the one who is currently receiving treatment at the hospital. Yes.
Wow, sad developments there. Many thanks for your time. That's my colleague Armstrong Godadlobe, bringing us details from Mepe, where students are currently writing their BC examinations. Let's send you to the Ashanti region, also to avoid delays in sending examination materials to hard-to-reach areas in the region. The use of drones have been adopted in sending the materials to Setre, Afram Plains. Now, the Regional Education Directorate says the move is to ensure that all candidates, regardless of their location, start the exams on time. Ibrahim Abubakar has been monitoring day 1 of the BC in the region and joins us live with more. Ibrahim, now tell us what's the latest on the transporting of papers with drones. Have all the centers received the papers for the exams to start yet?
Exactly. So this new method was adopted, or I would say it was piloted last year, because the Regional Education Directorate realized that Afram Plains, being one of the deprived communities in or districts in the Ashanti region, usually some of the students find it difficult to get to the various examination centers. They have only 2 examination centers in the entire district, and some of them even have to cross rivers before they get to the various examination centers. And anytime it rains, it means they wouldn't be able to come. So they decided that they will be sending the materials via drone to these hard-to-reach communities so that regardless of the situation, whether rain or shine, they will get them on time and start the exams. Today, same thing was done. By 8 a.m., all the materials had arrived, and exactly 9, everybody was seated and the examination had begun. So they intend to continue with this initiative to other places so that they wouldn't have a situation where people would say they didn't get their materials on time because of problem A or B. So it is ongoing. And currently in Ashanti region, or today, they are expecting 110,000 out of the close to 570 in the entire country. And interestingly, for the first time, we are seeing female candidates more than the male candidates. And this, according to authorities, is positive and to the education on girl child. It means more parents are allowing their girl child to enroll in the various schools. So as I speak to you, they are on break waiting to write the second paper. And some of them look excited, others too are down-spirited because apparently they couldn't do it as they expect.
Right. I was even going to ask you about the mood of the students, especially now that they do not have to cross over. I don't know if you've been speaking to some parents as well, because this would also ensure the safety of their children. The fact that they do not have to cross rivers and all that just to get to examination centers. Anything on that?
Exactly. They are very, very excited with the initiative, like you said, for the safety of their kids and also ensuring that they are able to participate in the exams. Adopting this means they will also be relieved, and they are excited, and they are even hoping that it's replicated across the country where people find it difficult to access examination centers. just so they will go and write their BEC.
All right, many thanks for your time. That's my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar, who has been monitoring the BEC process in the Ashanti region, specifically Setri from Plains. Now, let's move to the eastern region, where Yvonne Nikwe is also standing by with some reports from there. Yvonne, good afternoon. What can you report about the examination in your area?
Good afternoon, Judith. So I've been at the Omes Center, that is the Oyoko Methodist Senior High School Center, for a while now. Two students missed out on today's papers. They didn't turn up for the papers, and so that's just about it from the center. But a number of them were out here to write the paper or waiting to see how they turn up for the second papers as well. What helped in the situation is that between the GES and the district municipal chief executive, a bus was used to convey students from their rural areas into the school, and so we didn't have many people having challenges moving to the center to write the exam.
Right, and what has been the mood of these students knowing that they are not having much challenges this time?
Well, when they came out from the center, you could see it was a mixed feeling. Some were happy, others really not that entirely happy. Of course, probably this is the first time we're writing external exams, so you could understand what the mood meant like for them. We're hoping that as the days go by, they will easing up and be able to finish up the paper as quickly as possible.
Ryan, many thanks for your time. That's my colleague Yvonne Nikwe. She has been talking to me right there from the Eastern region. We know that the BC has started today, and many people are writing from various parts of the country. We've heard from our correspondents across the country on how things are going. But let's move on to some more stories now, especially in politics, and the choice of Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh as running mate is yet to galvanize the base of the Ashanti region as envisaged by the NPP. Now, that's according to a latest Global Info Analytics poll on the popularity of the running mate and his efficiency in increasing votes for the governing NPP come December 7. Now, the poll, which seeks to test the popularity of the Manchester South legislator and energy minister, reveals a near 10% drop in expected votes for this year's election compared to the 2020 election results. Now, my colleague Laboja is right here in studio with me. He's going to be telling us more about the numbers as compared to what has been said in the report. Laboja, tell us what's in.
Okay, so basically you realize that though the running mate for Bawumia, who is supposed to be adult tomorrow, is leading in Ashanti region or is galvanizing the vote for the MPP in Ashanti region, but when you compare that to the last elections, which was 2020 elections, you realize that the vote increment is kind of increasing in a decreasing manner.
Right.
If I should put it that way. And one interesting question that they put out there was how likely is his nomination, which is Dr. Opoku-Prempeh, how likely is his nomination going to influence who you vote for in MPP in December elections? This is Ashanti region. This is coming from Ashanti region. And you realize that 62% said they are likely to vote for the MPP. And then 21% unlikely, and then 17% they are neutral. And the questions goes on and on and on and on. And I'm sure when Musa Dankwa joins us, he'll give more insight and provide answers as to how they went about this.
Right. We're going to get more details on that. We also know that they spoke about the 2024 voting intentions compared to how residents who voted in the 2020 general elections performed, or what their statistics were in the Ashanti region as well as the Greater Accra region. But let's speak to Musa Dankwa. He's joining us on phone to tell us more about this. Good afternoon, sir. Now, tell us what more do you think about the dynamics that have been provided in that letter? Unfortunately, we have lost. Right. We can hear you, sir.
The main objective of the nomination of Napo, you will see that 75% of voters in the Ashanti region are approved of the nomination. They quite like the nomination. 22% of them do not approve it, and 3% have no opinion. But when you come to the question of would you be influenced to vote for MPP because of the nomination, there you have 62% said yes, we will be influenced by it. 21% said no, or unlikely, will be influenced. And 70% said they are neutral about it. That's in Ashanti region. When you come to Greater Accra on the same question, are you going to be influenced to vote for MPP because of NAPO? Likely is 24%, unlikely is 67%, and neutral 9%. So you could see that the nominations have different reactions based on the region you're looking at. And indeed, if you look at the justification for NAPO's nomination, it is to galvanize the base. And for now, it appears the base has been galvanized, but Accra is showing some kind of rejection. But the galvanization has not also resulted in an increase in the number of votes as expected. More or less, they dropped some numbers compared to 2020 elections, according to the poll. Because if you look at those who voted in 2020 elections for Bawumia and Nanado ticket, 84% of them went for Nanado and Bawumia. 50% according to respondents for John Mahama, and 1% for other people. But currently, NAPO and Bawumia ticket, it is 73% for MPP in Ashanti region, and 15% for Mahama in the Ashanti region, and 9% for Alan Sematin, and 2% for Nana Kwan Bediako. So we could see that there has been a drop in MPP's share of vote in Ashanti region,
right,
and it's gone to Nana Kwan Bediako and Alan Sematin.
Right. Now, what would you say this would mean for the fortunes of the NPP, especially in the upcoming general elections?
Well, it means that they have a lot of work to do, because they must first be able to match the numbers Nanaru got in the region. At the moment, they are not getting that number. And we are yet to see if this going forward, NAPO's involvement will result in an increase in the number of votes for MPP in the region, and also if he can reduce the number of people who said they will not vote. That is where the big problems are for MPP in the region. Currently, about 11% of people who said they will not vote in the Ashanti region are MPP. 0% are NDC. And 47% are floating voters. And 42% are those who did not disclose their party affiliation. You can see that there is an apathy in the Ashanti region. We don't know yet if NAPO will be able to change that apathy in the region.
Now, speaking of NAPO, per your analysis, do you really think that he would be a game changer?
No. From what we have seen from the data so far, no. Because, look, Accra is equally important to MPP as Ashanti region. Even though Ashanti gives them the biggest vote, they can't afford to lose vote in Greater Accra. But per this survey, they are losing grounds in Greater Accra, even with NAPO's nomination.
Okay, many thanks for your time. That's Mr. Musa Dankwa. He has been giving us details on the dynamics of the 2024 general elections coming up in December 4. Now, moving on, we'll stay on this particular topic with William Evans Inkum joining us live with some updates. Evans, now, it's a busy day, definitely in Minsha South constituency, I guess. Now, currently, tell us who have picked the forms.
Nana Owusu Efriye, the junior brother of Dr. Manu Afful Prempeh, was the first person to pick a form. Then lawyer Osei Bafwewa has also picked a form. Then the surprise entrant is the assembly member for CPC electoral area, Isaac Owusu Boache, and the third person to pick a form. And then finally, Nana Akwesi Jembibi, the potential heir to the Golden Stool, has also picked his form. So far, 4 people have picked their forms so far.
Right now, we know that this is about the new ruling Patriotic Party opening nominations for the vacant Minsha parliamentary candidate 2024 ticket. This has become necessary following the nomination of the incumbent Dr. Manu Afful Prempeh as running mates to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Now, Evans is still on the line. Evans, what has been the general atmosphere in respect to the aspirants?
Well, so the normal morale by supporters of these persons who have expressed interest or intent as far as the vacant Minsha parliamentary candidate ticket of the ruling New Patriotic Party is concerned. high expectations, despite the fact that it has been a one-way traffic as far as occupation on that particular seat is concerned, talking about the fact that since 1996, it has been dominated by, or a sole, quote-unquote, political property of the Apeja Royal House, from Dr. Kwame Adokufo to Dr. Matthew Kuku-Prempeh, and now his brother also contesting to retain the seat as far as the Apeja House is concerned. Others also are optimistic that they will be able to win the seat for the first time.
Right, many thanks for your time. That's my colleague William Evan Sinkum engaging us from the Ashanti region over there. Now, let's move on to some more stories. And the Social Security and National Insurance Trust has justified its decision to sell the 60% stake in the hotels. Now, according to SNIT, it has so far invested over 230 million cedis to revive the hotels, but all the hotels have failed to bring returns. Director General of SNIT, Kofi Marfo, was addressing a news conference in Accra, and it is discounted claims that the son of Freddie Blay bid over $150 million for the hotel. Director General also explained that the company that bid for Freddie Blay's son failed to meet the requirement.
Of 150 to 200 million and turned it down is not accurate. With all due respect, it's simply not accurate because the offer was never made. The offer was never even opened. They failed at the technical stage. And therefore, this assertion that they offered us 150 to 200 million can't be substantiated. In fact, they could say anything they want to, but it's simply not accurate to say that SNIT was made an offer of 150 to 200 million, which we turned down. It's not accurate.
Right, my colleague Daniel Opoku, he's our Labour correspondent. He's joining us live from the press briefing for more. Daniel, good afternoon. Now, what more has SNIT been saying?
Right, so these are the two major issues that SNIT has raised with regard to the sale agreement of the 60% in the hotels, and also the decision by the son of Mr. Freddie Blay to also the decision they had that he wanted to buy also shares in the hotels. Right, the first one on the sale agreement, SNIT says that you still proceed, because even though it's still negotiating in terms of the terms of payment with the owners of Rock City, Mr. Banacham, we're still negotiating the terms of payment, but it's a decision that will still carry or will be taken through. And the question was posed to us, whatever they have read, what the National Pension Regulatory Authority, NPRA, said, that there's a need to suspend the exercise and allow for broader consultations. The Director General is saying that they are still considering that, even that they have gone ahead to engage the leadership of NPRA, and very soon they are likely to conclude all the engagements with even the labor unions as well. For that reason, they are likely to go through with the sale agreement, even though discussions are still on the table for them to conclude every bit of the problem associated with the sale agreement.
Right, many thanks for your time. That's my colleague and Labour correspondent, Daniel Opoku, bringing us details right there. Now, let's move on to one of our biggest issues now. The controversy surrounding the push by the Chief Justice for more Supreme Court judges is not likely to end anytime soon. We are this afternoon getting some clarity on the recent letter written by the Chief Justice to the President recommending 5 judges for appointment. We do know that President Akufo-Addo sent a request for the AG's opinion on the Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu's plea for additional Supreme Court judges, and there has been a response from the AG on the matter. Well, we'll tell you the response shortly. Of course, my colleague Dennis Kwaberi Wedam is in studio with me. He'll give you all the details from the AG as well as GBA. But let's first take you through the crust of the Chief Justice's argument in a call for more judges to be elevated to the Supreme Court. Now, first, with the current number of Supreme Court judges pegged at 15, the CJ is recommending the number to be increased to 20. She explains that an increase will ensure a match of the supply of judicial services with the demand. And currently, the Supreme Court hears about 45 cases weekly and 180 cases monthly. She contends that the Supreme Court is unable to conclude 80% of the cases filed and those pending at the beginning of the year due to the number of times they sit in a week, delays in conferencing of different panels, as well as the time taking to write or review opinions of colleagues. Now, in the the 2022-2023 legal year, only 37% of cases were completed. And according to her as well, where there was only 44% completed in the year 2021 and 2022. Well, the Attorney General has responded, and Dennis Pwabe-Wedam is joining me in studio to give us more details. Dennis, what has the Attorney General been saying?
Yes, so what we have heard is was a letter that was written to the President in respect of some recommendations by the CJA for the Supreme Court justices to be increased from 15 to 20. Upon receipt of the letter, the President sent a copy to the Attorney General and also the Ghana Bar Association for them to make their inputs, because he needed to have a broader view of the situation. So upon receipt of the letter, the Attorney General also gives his inputs by way of an advice. And in substance, he agrees with all that the Chief Justice is saying by way of the recommendation, that indeed the court is inundated, the Supreme Court in this matter is inundated with a lot of cases. There's a lot of workload on them. And for that matter, it's in order that the recommendation be given the green light. It makes the case that, except to say that if that recommendation is given the green light, it will have financial implications on the consolidated fund, knowing that Supreme Court justices, as part of the Superior Court justices, form part of Article 71 holders. That would mean that whatever emoluments are given them will be charged on the consolidated fund. So he makes that. However, in also making the analysis, he tries to disabuse some perception out there that says that we seem to have a lot of justices already. Already we have 15 of them. There's always conversation out there that the 15 is a lot, because in other jurisdictions, like in the US, they have 9 justices or 9 judges at the Supreme Court.
Right.
But when you look at the kind of system that the United States of America runs, it's quite different from us. Because they have a federal system, what it means is that each state have a Supreme Court. So 50 states, each has a Supreme Court except 2 that have 2 for each. So yes. So in essence, they have close to over 300 Supreme Court justices in essence. But the conversation is always had as though they have just 9.
Right.
So that comparison was made to disabuse people's minds of that perception that we have a lot more. They also make reference to other common law tradition jurisdictions where they have specific number of justices that have been capped. They make reference to Canada, they make reference to Kenya, they make reference to South Africa. But in most of those instances where the justices have been capped, the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court has been reduced. Not in our case, where our Supreme Court has a wider jurisdiction to hear matters of constitutional interpretation, they have a supervisory jurisdiction, final court of appellate jurisdiction, except in parliamentary election matters, chieftaincy matters, they have jurisdiction and all that. In essence, they have close to 8 jurisdictions. But in those other jurisdictions where they have only fewer justices, their jurisdiction is limited to just appellate jurisdiction. What it means, and even with that one, they need to seek leave of court to be able to apply to file those appeals.
Right.
So in substance, the Attorney General agrees with the CJ that let's increase the justices from 15 to 20. Now, the GBA also agrees in principle, except to say that they do not think that the recommendation should be that we should have a minimum of 20. They agree that it should be increased from 15 to 20, but not that it should have a minimum of 20, because they think if you say we should have a minimum of 20, that would be an amendment of the Constitution, which they do not think was the intendment of the Chief Justice. So in essence, that's what the whole conversation is about, and that's the input from the Attorney General and the GBA.
Right, many thanks for your time. Dennis Pwabe-Wedam giving us details on the response by the Attorney General as well as the GBA. But we know that former President John Dramani Mahama has expressed concerns about the procedure being used by the Chief Justice to seek appointment for more judges.
I think that the obligation and responsibility of every president is to appoint fair-minded people. Human beings, as we are, would have our own inclinations towards one party or towards one religion or towards one culture or other. There are many things that make us who we are. And only recently, you've seen what happened. And I can't understand why the Chief Justice will be the one recommending, which judges to appoint. The Constitution is clear. That is, the President who appoints judges in consultation with the advice of the Judicial Council. And so the initiative to appoint judges must come from the President and submitted to the Judicial Council. It brings it back with advice to the President, and the President forwards it to Parliament. That is the procedure. It is very rare that this time the recommendation comes from the Chief Justice to the President. And even the issue of capping the number of judges. The Constitutional Review Committee recommended that we cap Supreme Court judges.
Well, you had John Dramani Mahama there talking about the CJ and her letter calling for more judges to be elevated to the Supreme Court. We'll say in the courts now, and Accra High Court has deferred the verdict in the case of two teenagers charged with conspiracy and murder of 10-year-old Ishmael Mensah Abdella at Kaswa. This will be the third time the court has had to adjourn proceedings due to strike action by the jurors. Our court correspondent Lord Edu Asari joins us live on phones for more on this report. Now, Lord, what more can you report on this?
The juror strike, which began on May 16, continues to bite as the hearing or the trial involving the teen killers of a 10-year-old person at Kaswa failed to come on. Once again, it was adjourned because of the juror strike. Now, today, when the case was called, lawyers from the states indicated that the family of the deceased had been bereaved, and so they were praying for an adjournment because they indeed want to be present each time the case is called. And so the trial judge adjourned the case. But that aside, the case wouldn't have been able to go further because as it stands, we are left with the prosecution to sum up, make their final disclosures and make their final arguments, and then the court will sum up everything that has happened, and then judgment to be given in the matter.
Oh, many thanks for your time. That's my colleague, Lord Edu Asari. He has been reporting from Accra High Court, which has deferred the case of two teenagers charged with conspiracy and murder. Now, that's all we have for you right here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. My name is Judith Brown. Stay tuned for more news.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
Hello, good afternoon. It's time now for Business Daily. Coming up, Ghana Plastic Manufacturers Association to propose alternative tax handle to government to generate more revenue than infamous 5% excise tax on locally manufactured plastic products.
If government had consulted us, would have been able to come with some other better options that government could probably even raise better revenue.
Also, former President John Dramani Mahama slams Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Addison amidst Institute of Economic Affairs tenure extension debate, arguing the latter does not deserve contract extension.
If you were a governor who presided over a 60 billion loss, I wonder if you expect a contract extension.
Plus, government records marginal oversubscription of 3.34 billion cedis in latest Treasury bills auction as interest rates dip slightly. We'll bring you details, and my name is Manu Afful. Do stay tuned. Many thanks for your time. We'll go straight to our first story. President of the Ghana Plastic Manufacturers Association, Ebo Boche, has described as unfortunate government's lack of engagement prior to the implementation of the 5% excise tax on all locally manufactured plastic products. According to him, the association has better solutions that could help government generate more revenue from the proposed tax. The association and its partners, including GUTA, have suspended their planned demonstration and subsequent shutdown of their plans over the tax pending a meeting with government.
I have mentioned it severally that government did not consult us. If government had consulted us, would have been able to come with some other better options that government would probably even raise better revenue than this policy. So we have whatever points, or assumptions, or proposals that will enhance government revenue, and now government is engaging us, and we believe that in the subsequent meetings we'll be able to table our proposals which will balance the equation for government. It is on the basis that GRA has stopped the harassment, and then most importantly, government through the Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry engaging us that we had to call off our intended demonstration.
President of the Ghana Plastic Manufacturers Association, Ebo Buchi, there. Meanwhile, the association has been telling 3Business the possible impact on the economy in the event of a shutdown.
If we shut down, example, the sachet and bottled water industry will also shut down, because without a bottle, without a sachet, they cannot pack. The fizzy drink industry will also shut down, because without a bottle, your Bell Cola or Coca-Cola or Sprite cannot be packed. If we shut down the pharmaceutical industry, the medicines are all packed either in flexible or rigid packaging. If we, in Ghana, over 92% of all industries package their products in some form of plastic packaging, be it rigid or flexible. Plastic cuts across in all our everyday life. So we don't need to get to that.
Well, that was President of the Ghana Plastic Manufacturers Association, Ebo Buchi, there. On to more stories. Former President and flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, has addressed the Institute of Economic Affairs' recent proposal to extend the tenure of the Bank of Ghana governors to overlap with the term of the sitting president. While John Mahama acknowledges that there is merit to the idea of tenure extension, he firmly believes that the current governor, Dr. Ernest Addison, should not be granted such an extension. During his media engagement in Accra, the former president criticized Dr. Addison's leadership, citing a series of significant economic issues under his tenure.
When I left office, Nashiru's term was still running. It was the same with Governor Appa. His term overlapped government. It is only when Nashiru was forced to resign and a new governor was appointed that the term is becoming conterminous with the political season. But otherwise, really, it just says you have a 4-year contract. After 4 years, the contract is renewable. And so if a government comes into office and your contract has not expired, you continue as governor. And when the time comes and your contract is over, depending on your performance, your contract will be renewed. But if you're a governor who presided over a 60 billion loss, I wonder if you expect a contract extension. If you're a governor who printed 42 billion CDs and pumped it into the economy, pushed inflation to 54%, I wonder if you expect that you will get a contract extension. If you're a governor who in crisis decides that the best thing for a bank to do is to invest $250 million in a headquarters building, I don't know if you should have the expectation that your contract will be extended.
That was former President John Dramani Mahama. Away from that, government recorded a marginal oversubscription of Treasury bill sales as interest rates eased. According to the auction results from the central bank, the government secured 3.34 billion cedis from the auction, higher than the previous week's results. And the following 3Business News Desk report has the details. About 77.32% of the bids came from the 91 bill, which constituted about 2.5 billion cedis. All bids tendered were accepted. For the 182-day bill, 651.11 million cedis worth of bids were tendered, and the uptake was everything. 182.68 million cedis were also offered for the 364-day bill, and all were accepted. Meanwhile, interest rates continued to soar, but marginally. That of the 91-day bill fell by 8 basis points to 24.78%. For the 182-day bill, it dropped by 6 basis points to 26.74%. The one-year bill, however, remained constant at 27.78%. Well, that was a 3 Business News Desk report ending Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more stories, kindly log on to our website on www.3news.com. My name is Manu Afful. Do stay tuned. Urban Blend is up next.